Hey guys, OG Albino here, bringing you guys my APA Clash of Kings Season 2 run. Now, if you aren't familiar with APA or Clash of Kings, it's essentially a tournament modeled pretty closely after DPL, Draft Premier League, which is essentially a format where you have two captains that, end up drafting or auctioning for a bunch of coaches for, various amounts of money, depending on how much you're willing to pay for them and all that good stuff. And then each week you'll slot them in a particular format. For APA Clash of Kings, there is 3 slots per week for standard, 2 for low tier, and then 2 for little cup. And obviously it's a best of 7 series, and whoever comes out on top wins the week. And obviously if you win a majority of weeks, you'll hopefully make playoffs and go for the championship. And I played in Season 1 as a player. I got picked up and played Little Cup there. And then this season, I decided to captain with my good buddy Milan, or AKGCS. We captained Galactic HQ. We picked up some great guys. I had so much fun this season. I'm really excited to go over my games and stuff like that because I had a blast doing this. In Clash of Kings Season 1, I played and I had fun. I did well, but I didn't, go super hard for it and really sweat. And this time, I can definitely say, I put in a ton of time mocking and building and obviously helping out my teammates and doing the captain things. It was draining, but it was so much fun. But yeah, we had a team full of great guys who obviously put in a bunch of work. This team in particular was super inspired and was really helped put together by my buddy Darkrai, who I'll definitely link in the description below. I'll link all my dudes that I drafted if they got Yuzu stuff down the description. But he really helped me build this team. Week 1, we were going up against, I forget what team it was, but we were playing against Plaz, who's a very solid Smogon Little Cup player, and it was a pretty tough matchup. I'm not going to go over teams super in depth, but obviously you can see on our screen we have a Ponytail, Grookey, Helioptile, Munchlax, Kabuto, and Woobat, while Plaz is rocking out with the Staryu, Corfish, Krabby, Spinarak, Alola Sandshrew, and Golett. Very interesting team on this end. We got triple water, which is actually terrifying. And we have the double crab core, which is really funny, but actually pretty scary versus our team in particular. The reason this matchup was so tough for me on paper was because obviously you see an Alolan Sandshrew there, but you see no Hail. They also had a Snover on their team. And in mocks, I was running into a lot of trouble because I have a great Hail check in Ponytail. However, Ponytail was so pressured this game because between the triple water as well as the Golett being able to smack it, having to potentially pivot in on the Spinarak, and then always having to take hits from Sandshrew, which can always EQ us, and then we can always get chipped down by hail plus rocks plus taking a blizzard from the what do you call it, the Snover or a Giga Drain or something like that. While it's not crazy damage, I get chipped so quick I can't really Morning Sun up. So much to my surprise and to my joy, I actually did not see the Hail Core on my screen this time. Instead came the Golett, which is fair. It definitely did good versus me. And the Spinarak, which I was a bit surprised to see, but it makes sense. Ones are pretty good versus me, especially with those really scary offensive waters that can make them go crazy. So we're gonna go over the team really quick. I have a Shukaberry Ponytail with Sunny Day, Flare Blitz, High Horsepower. No. Sunny Day, Flare Blitz, Wild Charge, and Morning Sun, literally there to kind of reverse that hail if it came and let me recover a lot more HP, and it made it to where I didn't have to pivot around like an Icy Rock hail kind of business, and it really put me in a good position. I could actually beat a defensive Staryu 1v1 if I did have Sun Up, because Skull is going to be bouncing. It's obviously going to help the rest of my team as well with the water type moves, and it really boosts up my my Flare Blitz's power as well. So that's obviously clutch. We have an EVO Grookey just because we get smashed by Agility Krabby is very scary. If we're not EVO, we die to a X-Scissor, like a Life Orb X-Scissor if it's Agility, and Corfish is also scary, so it gives us something for that. We also have a Scarf Helioptile, which is nice because it covers pretty much any Corfish variant. We will be able to outspeed it, and we will be able to revenge it unless it gets up to +2, which I don't plan on letting happen. We have a Body Slam, Fire Punch, Whirlwind, Recycle, Munchlax, which goes crazy in this matchup. It's a great, just nice bulky pivot around to pretty much everything on the squad. We deal with the Spinarak very well. We deal with the Sandshrew pretty well due to the thick fat, unless they're carrying some crazy coverage for us. We deal with the Starmie pretty decently as well. The only issue is that we can potentially get burned, but not the biggest deal in the world because we can always Fire Punch. And then we have Whirlwind to stop the waters from sitting up on us, because they definitely can if we don't have the para, and I'd rather not risk that. We have a Rock Spin knockoff Rock Blast Kabuto just here for good support. make it so I don't lose to web. And then we have the the prize jewel of the team. We have a Grassy Seed Woobat with Calm Mind, Store Power, Air Slash, and Roost. This thing goes nuts, this matchup. And yeah, with that being said, let's just jump right into the match. So they're gonna lead off with the Sandshrew. I'm gonna lead off the Grookey. I figured it was my best lead overall. It led well versus legitimately everything on the team, minus a Spinarak lead, and it also led well versus a goal at trying to get up rocks versus me turn 1. Now this turn, I am gonna switch because I want to Scout for Scout, Scout for Scarf, Sandshrew, because obviously that bought my Grookey, and I don't want to take that chip on it, and I don't want it to die, honestly, because again, I lose to double water if that happens. So I'm going to hard switch on the Ponyta, scouting for that, as they do switch out into the Spinarak. So it makes me look cool, like I made that crazy double, but in all honesty, I did not think that was gonna, that was gonna be the play that happened, but obviously that's nice. I get off a big Flare Blitz, and this damage right here tells me that it is 150% not EVO Corphish, which is good to know because obviously we can potentially revenge it with something else, but also pretty scary. So right here, I am going to switch out expecting the Aqua Jet as they catch me and go for a knockoff. That's big because now we're super open to the Krabby as well as the Golett, which can be super scary. And I'm going to go for a U-turn here. Might have been a little bit of an overplay because I know my opponent doesn't have great switch-ins to Wood Hammer plus Trade Punch. However, I expected a potential switch out into the Spinarak, and I didn't want to let that in for free. So we are going to switch out as my opponent goes for another knockoff into the Kabuto. I knew I could live one, so I figured, why not? Might as well go for that. And we're going to get in for free. Now, this turn I'm going to look to get on my rocks just to get some chip on some things. Obviously, break a Sash on a Spinarak or a Shrew or even a Golett or something like that as they go for the Crab Hammer and they miss. And that's big because it's going to allow my Kabuto to obviously be pretty healthy in this exchange because we're going to be able to knock him out the following turn, which is actually going to prove to be pretty big, as you're going to see. So we're going to get a little bit more terrain recovery, which is nice, as they're going to switch out and they go for a knockoff. It would have knocked out literally everything else. We're going to knock off the Boots to Staryu as it goes for a Reflect. Now, this is terrifying, and I'm actually really glad I did not get, all of those hits. The reason I say that's obviously terrifying is because the fact is, I think if I knock this thing out, it immediately opened me up to a position to be swept by that Krabby, because it comes in, it agility's up, and I lose, because Grookey's in range, this is in range, everything else on my team dies. There's, nothing I can do. So, to prevent that from happening, while I know I can knock this thing out and, obviously be in a pretty solid spot, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pivot out immediately to Helioptile, because it's going to cover them potentially staying in and, pivoting out, staying in, dying, and then pivoting out into the Krabby, and it also covered a Hydro Pump. So that's going to be nice. I'm going to be able to get off the Thunderbolt, knock out the Staryu. They're going to go into Golett, and this is very scary, as they are going to just go raw for a Dynamic Punch and knock me out. Again, not a good time. However, this is going to give me a free switch to my Woobat. I figured this is my best opportunity to try and set up and win the game with this thing, or at least punch a big hole in my opponent's team. It wasn't necessarily meant here to win in mocks. It was more so just to really punch a hole through my opponent's team and make them lose them all that they couldn't, really go without, and force them into a sack early game. However, in this position, without the hail and that giving the Sandshrew to outspeed me and, revenge me with like an Icicle Spear or something like that after some chip, it's going to allow me to come in for free with my Woobat. I know with my +2 defense boost, I will be able to live any hit, and I can go for a Calm Mind, get it to +2. That Ice Punch is going to bounce, we don't get frozen, and at this point, it just cleans up with stored power. There's nothing on my opponent's team. I made sure to EV to where we can knock out a non-EVO Sandshrew after rocks. That thing is going to drop, which is pretty insane. We're going to be able to chew that Aqua Jet despite it being a Life Orb, Corphish, knock that thing out, and we're going to be able to take home week 1 against Plaz here. Unfortunately, we did end up losing the week. I believe we lost in a game 7, which was very unfortunate, but I liked how, our team in particular came together. Big shouts out to Dark for a lot of the suggestions on these sets, especially the Pony that didn't really get to shine with the Sunny Day, but I thought that was a really clean tech. And then the Woobat going crazy too, because I almost did not bring this thing because it was not performing how I liked it in mocks. But he convinced me to keep it, helped me kind of refine exactly what I wanted to do with this thing and what its role was going to be, even though it ended up being completely different from what we thought it was going to do. But nonetheless, I'll definitely take it. And yeah, it's going to be a week 1 dub. I'll be right back with week 2. Alright, so week 2, we ended up going up against my good friend Liv. She was playing some Little Cup as well, which was pretty cool. I don't think I've played them in Little Cup, but they knocked me out of APA playoffs like recently before this, I think, or it could have been after, but I know it was like around this time when they knocked me out of APA main playoffs, so I definitely wanted my revenge, but it was a very, very, very fickle matchup. Obviously, you can see their team consists of the Elekid, Pawniard, Pikipek, Sandshrew, Gothorita, or Gothita, not Gothorita. I think it's Gothita, yeah. And Remoraid. Our team is Scorbunny, Stunky, Wingull, Stuffle, Geodude, and Snivy. Now, on my roster, there was a lot of things I lacked. I lacked a good switch into Pikipek. I just didn't have one. Offensively, it murdered me. Like, absolutely murdered me. There wasn't much I could do about that freaking monster. I didn't have much for it. Goth was very annoying for me just simply because of the fact that a lot of my defensive checks on this team were needed to hold an item, whether it be an EVO or a berry juice or something like that, which led them very, very viable to be trapped by Goth, which is, again, not fun at all. The Remoraid can be a bit scary, and the Sandshrew. The Sandshrew is so obnoxious for my team. Outside of Snivy and Wingull, I don't break it very well, and I do not switch into it very well, especially when it has the knock and it can spin and get the speed boost. I was actually pretty terrified of an offensive Sandshrew, because offensively it's pretty good versus me too, but defensively it's still very, very annoying for me to deal with, especially with my Scorbunny, because my Scorbunny goes nuts this game. If I can just get rid of that Sandshrew, Scorbunny has a very, very, very good shot at winning this game. However, that is something we're going to have to potentially facilitate. So, sets-wise, we got a Boot, Scorbunny, 4 attacks, does pretty well. I believe we're Blaze Kick, High Jump Kick, U-Turn, and Sucker Punch. We have a 3 attacks Defog Stunky with Sucker Punch, Dark Pulse, and Fire Blast. It's going to be a really good blanket check to a lot of my opponent's team, mostly the Gothita. Obviously, we can pretty much stop any set of that because it's not going to be able to, really beat us down. And if it's like a Charm set or something like that, it has to be Charm plus Confide to really beat us down. And even then, if it's that kind of set, then it's not as threatening versus the rest of my team, so I don't necessarily expect that. We have a Scarf Wingull, gives me great speed control in this game, and it's a great late game win con. I mean, look at my opponent's water resist and look at my opponent's flying resist. It's a Remoraid and a Elekid, so again, very, very good in the end game if we can position it correctly. We have a really, really cool Stuffle set, because I was having a lot of trouble figuring out what kind of Stuffle I wanted, because I needed it, but also it was super viable to get trapped by Gothita, and Shed Shell just was not working out for me. But my buddy Skyhorse suggested a really cool set, and it was Sub, Berry Juice, Payback with, I believe, what was the normal stab? Was it Body Slam? Something like that. But the Payback, obviously, if we're behind a Sub, we can take the Psychic, and we knock out non-EVO Gothita after Rocks, which is nice. We are a Stealth Rock 3 attacks Geodude, obviously pure meant to get up Rocks, check the the Elekid, and do some work. And then we have a Taunt, Claire, Synthesis, Leaf Storm, Snivy here, just meant to be a general defensive check to things like a potential Pawniard being annoying, things like a potential Elekid, we can actually check pretty decently. It checks the Remoraid as well if it's choice locked and it can't click Fire Blast, we can live that from a healthy amount as well, so that's always nice, and it's going to be our main Sandshrew check, which is nice as well. So yeah, that being said, let's jump right into the game. I'm going to lead off with my Wingull because, again, I don't see a great way for my opponent to respond to this, and the only thing that really forces me out, like initially, is going to be a potential Elekid, like an EVO Pawn or something like that. Other than that, I can kind of just stay in and click a button. I can also U-turn with the Gothita, which is obviously pretty clutch, and I know I won't be trapped by Scarf with a Scarf T-Bolt. And they're going to lead off with Pikipek. Now, I'm in a position where I pretty much need to attack this thing. I looked at the rolls, and I literally needed a min roll not to knock this thing out. And other than that, provided I hit my Hurricane, I kill it, and I 2-hit KO something else. I might be trapped by the Gothita afterwards, but that's honestly a trade I'm willing to make because, again, look at this Pikipek and look at my team. It just, we don't mix well at all. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to stay in, I'm going to click Hurricane, and you're going to see I get the absolute min roll as per usual in LC. Unfortunately, there's some weird things like that, and we're not going to knock out this Pikipek. It wasn't Eviolite. It wasn't very bulky at all. Just got, an absolute min roll. That's going to let me go out into my Stunky, throw off a big Dark Pulse on the Elekid, which is nice because that gives me a good 50% off on it, and that's going to allow a free Geodude, which is going to allow free Rocks, and Rocks are very nice in this game. It at the very least forces the Sandshrew into a spin, and at this point it will also knock out the Pikipek, which is, again, big, because that thing kind of forces a kill next time it comes in if it clicks the right button, which is obviously pretty terrifying. So I am going to get up those Rocks as they go hard into Gothita and just click Fake Out, which is obviously a good ring because what it's going to allow them to do is click E-Ball the next turn and completely knock me out. That crit did not matter, unfortunately, but I'll be able to go into my Stunky pretty free. They're going to sack off the Picky Peck, which is a great sight to see because, again, it did not deal with that thing well at all, but that just lets in the next threat, which is going to be Sandshrew. If it does go for the spin, gets rid of my rocks, which means no rocks this game, but not the biggest deal in the world. I go for glares, they make a good play, and go into the Elekid. It covered me, obviously, going for Least Strong gives him a good stack, but it also covered the glare play, which is very unfortunate because I lost my Geodude, so I lost my check to this thing, which is not a good time. I was trying to catch a potential Pawniard with the glare because I think it makes it much easier for me to deal with, and I can potentially get in my Stuffle, like a turn after or something like that, and get a sub up, and obviously deal with the Gothita a little bit better. But regardless, what I'm going to do right here is just stay in. Ice Punch does not kill me even from Life Orb no matter what due to my investment, and then I'm going to be able to knock him out with a Leaf Storm. However, this puts me in a bad situation versus that Sandshrew, because that's going to allow me to be trapped by the Gothita. Another Fake Out kill is going to come out here, and I'm just going to throw off a big Dark Pulse again because I know my opponent doesn't switch into Dark Pulse plus Fire Blast. As you're going to see, Dark Pulse into Fire Blast is going to be enough to knock out that Pawniard. And now I'm going to be in a bit of a tough situation because they're going to go for an EQ, which is a bit unfortunate, but I do eat my juice, get back up to full, which is nice. And then I'm going to go for a Double Edge, which is my second stab, which is obviously nice. And then Payback. Fortunately, actually, we are going to outspeed and get out the Payback. Otherwise, we would have been trapped and just died to this. Because the main goal of Payback, if we were slower, was going to be the option to potentially sub down and then take the Payback, take the Psychic, and then throw off the big Payback the turn after. But regardless, that's completely fine. We're able to get off a big amount of chip off on this Gothita, which is super clutch. Bring in our Stunky, clean knock it out with a Dark Pulse, and then be in a good spot from there. However, this does allow the Sandshrew back in, and this puts me in a really precarious spot. Because what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go for a Dark Pulse. I can't obviously switch in my Score Bunny on the Sandshrew. I'll just drop to the EQ. And my best bet is potentially getting a flinch, really wearing this thing down to where my Score Bunny can potentially clean up in the end game with like a Sucker Punch win. So I am going to go for a Dark Pulse as they go for the Rapid Spin. I see why they made that play, simply just because the spin will allow them to outspeed everything on my team that's not Scarfed, and I am not Scarfed Score Bunny, and I am not Scarfed, Stunky, which is obviously not good. However, due to the fact that we're really bulky EVO Stunky, we're actually going to be able to clutch up, live this EQ on 1 HP, throw off another big Dark Pulse, which is super clutch, then throw off a Sucker Punch, be able to knock out the Sandshrew, and this is going to put us in a phenomenal position, because otherwise, we couldn't have won the game with just Score Bunny, because Sucker Punch does not knock out the run rate, unfortunately, and we're going to be able to throw off double Sucker Punches to hopefully win this game, as long as it's not like a sub, a sub rem rate or something like that. I'm assuming it's probably Scarf, as it does go for the Surf, and then we're going to be able to clean up the, the rem rate right here at the end with our Score Bunny with the Sucker Punch, and barely hold on at the end there against our good buddy Liv and take home a 1-0 dub. Unfortunately, this week as well, I believe we lost in Game 7, so the team as a whole ended up losing this week, but we were able to win our game. Big shouts out to Sky and Dark for this team in particular, really helping me out. Milan as well for the mocks and stuff like that. Whole team really grinded this week. Unfortunately, we just fell flat. Hopefully, we can bounce back week 3 and we can keep our streak going. Let's jump to that one. All right, so week 3, we were going up against PNR, and we played up against one of their captains, TJ, who's a very solid Little Cup player in himself. Very scary team that they had as well. Biggest threats, obviously, on their screen. Well, let's go over their team first. We're jumping a little ahead. They got the Alola Meowth, the Piplup, the Score Bunny, the Coughing, the Alola Geodude, and the Trapinch. Very scary team. Trapinch is really annoying for my team because first impression plus my team not really having a great grounder just outside of Grookey is really annoying. I don't want my pony, obviously to be trapped just because it's my best Score Bunny pivot, on my team. I really don't want my Helio being trapped because it's phenomenal offensively in this game. I don't want my Kabuto being trapped because I don't want to get, hazards up on the field, and it's also a great Score Bunny check because I can take a high jump kick and, a bunch of different things like that. So we're going to have to be careful around that thing. Score Bunny, massive threat. High jump kick plus, Blaze Click, U-turn, Sucker Punch or something like that just kind of does me super dirty. Low kick is also an option. No, not low kick. I mean, high jump kick's way better. I don't even think he gets low kick. What am I thinking low kick for? I must have been playing a Little Cup game recently where I low kicked a Munchlax. And then the Alola Meowth, whether it be like a nasty plot set, whether it be a life or like physical fake out, knockoff, U-turn type set, also does phenomenal versus me with its speed tier. So we're gonna have to be very careful in this game. First up, we have a Shuka Berry Ponyta with, I believe it is Flare Blitz, High Horsepower, Will-O-Wisp, and Morning Sun, which is nice. We have a Curse, Recycle, Fire Punch, Facade, Curse, Recycle, Fire Punch, Facade. Yeah, that's the full 4 movesets. Munchlax goes crazy versus this team. If we can find an opportunity to set up, it goes nuts. However, the biggest issue to that thing is going to be the coughing, which I am expecting to have the Clear Smog or the Haze or something like that to obviously circumvent us being able to set up curses in front of its face. We also have a Life Orb Helioptile with Thunderbolt, Surf, U-turn, and Protect. Protect is obviously for that first impression, something I don't really want to get trapped by. If we get a little bit of chip on the trap bench, we can knock it out with Life Orb Surf, but we can't do it initially, so we're going to have to be careful about that, obviously. We have a Terrain Extender Grookey with Knockoff, U-turn, Wood Hammer, and Protect. Very good offensively versus my opponent outside of the coughing, which will work to my advantage, you'll see, because it's going to be forced to potentially take hits from my coughing, or it's going to force other things to take hits that don't want to in order to preserve an EVO or chip on the coughing. So that's obviously super clutch. The reason we are Terrain Extender is because I don't want my opponent to be trapped by the trap bench, but I couldn't viably run many other sets in this matchup, run like a Shed Shell or anything like that. So the Shuka Berry, what it's going to allow me to do much better is, obviously take on that trap bench much better, be able to Will-O-Wisp it under terrain with our Shuka Berry, and be able to pretty much 1v1 it super easy. We have a Sash Spinarak with, I believe it's Sneak, Poison Jab, Sucker Punch, Sticky Web. Something that didn't come on this team was the Drifloon, so obviously we have a bunch of priority for that thing. I think we either had Sneak or Sucker Punch. I totally forget our 4th move, though. And then we have an EVO bulky Kabuto, which is obviously here to get a Rocks, potentially check a Score Bunny. I believe we have Aqua. No. We were Life Orb Kabuto in this game. I apologize. I was Spin, Jet, Rock Blast, and Liquidation because it goes crazy this game. It's another mon. If we can chip Piplup, if we can chip Coughing, it can definitely win with just rock support in this, or just a little bit of chip support in this game. So that's obviously super clutch. We're gonna start off the game. They are gonna lead off with the Coughing. I'm gonna lead off with the Spinarak. Turns out to be a very fast taunt Coughing, which is definitely a good bring. Stops me from getting up my webs, which is a bit annoying, not the biggest deal. However, in this next turn, I'm going to pivot on my pony. I know I can take Sludge Bombs well, and this also covered a Will-O-Wisp or a Fire Blast or a Flamethrower or anything like that. So it's going to allow me to get my Flash Fire boost, and nothing on my opponent's team wants to take a Flare Blitz plus a High Jump Kick at all, especially when it is Flash Fire boosted. So you're going to see the Piplup try and switch in as the Water type and take 48% from that Flare Blitz, which is pretty nuts. That's an EVO Piplup, and we pretty much almost 2-hit KO'd that thing. I'm going to go right out into my Helioptile trying to catch a water move or something like that, just to get offensive momentum as well if it ended up going for rocks or something like that. And then make the switch out into the Geodude, which is completely fine. It's going to allow me to get a pretty free U-turn off, break this thing sturdy, which is obviously super clutch, and be able to go into my Kabuto. Very aggressive switch right there. However, I didn't think they would go for an electric move. At worst, they went for a rock move, and I'd be able to take that super easy. And it's also going to allow me to get in and throw off a big ol' hit, as I am going to go for a knockoff, catch the Piplup very well, and then go for an Aqua Jet this following turn in case it's a weird Scarf Piplup or something like that. So that's obviously super nice for us. I'm going to pivot out this next turn, go right on my Helioptile, just because I don't really want anything else taking a hit. They do go for another Will-O-Wisp, which is completely fine. I didn't want to take the rock chip on my pony, which is, obviously super disadvantageous. As they do go into the trap bench, they're going to click the first impression. Our Protect's going to come in super handy here, so we're going to be able to take that hit, and then U-turn out into a safe switcher, which is going to be Grookey, because this king can't really touch us outside of that first impression. As they do go for the rock tomb, good speed control play, being able to get a bunch of chip off on me and obviously make me slower, though we will outspeed this trap bench. Otherwise, this is going to allow me to get a big knockoff onto the Coughing, which is again amazingly clutch. Being able to knock this thing off makes it a lot less bulky and annoying versus my squad. I'm going to switch out into the Spinarak, pretty much just sacking it off at this point. I don't really have a purpose for it. If I can get up webs and they choke, then that'd be nice. But they are going to taunt me as I'm going to pivot out into Helioptile and pretty much get a free hit off. This is honestly super free. They are going to go into the trap bench. I'm going to U-turn, break a potential sash or something like that, and then get right back out into Grookey, as we're going to have a couple turns left of terrain, and we're going to be slowly getting back some recovery. I'm going to go for Woodhammer here, just because it did a ton of coughing, being that it doesn't have its EVO anymore, and that's, unrecoverable chip at this point. As they do go into Score Bunny, give me a clean 50% off on that thing, as I am going to protect just to get a little bit of lefties back, and scout and see if that thing was Scarf by any chance, or anything like that. So I'm going to make the play of sacking my Spin Rack, potentially, just to the Blaze Kick, so I can get a free switch into Pony, but instead, they are going to double out into the coughing. This is completely fine. I tried to just get some last-ditch webs just in case I could, but unfortunately, we're not going to be able to, as they're going to switch out into the Trapinch. I'm just going for Sneak to get a last little bit of chip off on some things, which would be nice. We're going to get a big Leech Life off before we're knocked out by the Earthquake. However, this is going to put me in a solid spot because I'm going to be able to go right out into Kabuto, throw off a big Liquidation, and claim me a kill, which is, again, really, 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 really clutch. So, down that goes. They're going to go out into Geodude, catch me with the Endure. I should have called this play if they went hard into it, but not going to lie, it completely slipped my mind at the time that this thing obviously gets Endure and can, Endure, get its 30, or live on 1, get its Berry Juice back. But this is completely fine, because what I'm going to do is make the play of sacking Grookey, because it's going to lure me a free switch into Munchlax. And now that the coughing is gone, look at my opponent's team and look at Munchlax when it starts boosting. So what I do right here is I obviously just click Curse this first turn, because at +1 I take a hit from anything, and if I knock out the Meowth potentially coming in trying to knock off my Berry Juice, or I knock out the Score Bunny coming in to high jump kick me, that really opens up the rest of my team like phenomenally. Especially if I get any chip off on the Meowth or knock it out, I pretty much win the game with Kabuto because of the fact that we have Liquidation plus, Aqua Jet at this point, so that's obviously super clutch. So I am just going to stand in Curse. So my opponent elects to just go Raw for Rock Blast, which is honestly fine, because what this is going to allow me to do is just start really compiling curses, and you're going to see TJ here isn't really going to switch out and try to make a play at this point. I'm kind of getting to a point where I'm boosted past most things that are really going to threaten me. I go over a Facade, potentially trying to catch something switching in, and also cover breaking the Sturdy, which is obviously super nice. And I put this on hyper fast because it's going to happen for a minute where I'm just cursing and trying to get to a decent amount of health and keep my Berry Juice, if at all humanly possible. Plus, I'm not doing the most to this thing in the world, just because of the fact that, the the Geodude is incredibly bulky. So you're going to see we get it to +6 at this point, as I believe we go for a Recycle. I go for a Facade, knock this thing out. Out comes the Meowth. It's going to fake me out into Dark Pulse. We do get Flinch, which is terrifying, but we're going to be able to knock it out with a Facade. I'm going super fast at this point. I forgot that there was a little bit more game after this. So let's go back a little bit. We're going to go for the Dark Pulse. This is going to be Life Orb boosted. It's going to get off 40%. We're going to go for a Facade. Obviously, clean knock this thing out. Then the Score Bunny's going to come out. Click High Jump Kick. However, it is not enough. Only going to do 26% to us. Facade's going to clean knock that thing out. And then lastly, all that's left is a Trapinch, which isn't going to be enough to take out the rest of our team, much less our Munchlax. And we're going to be able to Facade, knock that thing out, and get a clean Cursed Munchlax sweep in week 3 of Clash of Kings. Now, I said it in the last 2 weeks, and I'll say it again. Unfortunately, we did lose this week. I believe we lost in 6 games this time. Due to, some unfortunate games that involved a lot of hacks. I know my buddy Dark got hacked real bad in his little cup game. Just some really unfortunate circumstances in the first 3 weeks. Despite our 0-3 record overall, we had some pretty solid diff at this point, and our series were all very close. So there's definitely still hope for us yet. We're going into week 4, which I believe is midweek. Potentially hoping to switch some things up, change up how we're doing things, and hopefully, make a Cinderella story, come back if at all humanly possible. So I'm going to jump ahead to week 4, and I'll see you then.
Alright guys, here we are with our week 4 battle. This week we're going to go up against Meatball Substitutes, and we play Kraken Nation. This is essentially a must-win week. Pretty much all the weeks going in from here on out, we need to win in order to have a chance at playoffs. So we're obviously going to be grinding like crazy. We put in a ton of hours mocking this week, me and Dark and Sky and Milan and all that stuff. This is a very, very, very tough matchup for a couple reasons in particular. The biggest one, though, as you can see, my opponent has a Scraggy. Let's go over their team really quick. They have a Tailo, Staryu, Scraggy, Numel, Alola Geodude, and a Pumpkaboo. While our team consists of the Ponyta, Helio, Kabuto, Woobat, Grimer, and Grookey. So, biggest issue that I had in prep and in mock and stuff like that, was a Scraggy. I think my matchup was pretty decent otherwise, but I don't have a fairy on this team, so I don't have anything for a +1 Scraggy. It just kind of runs through my team. All they need is going to be Dragon Dance, Drain Punch, Knockoff, Zen Headbutt, and it covers the entirety of my team. So I'm going to have to play very specifically and build a team, really tailor-made to not let the thing really get out of hand. And I think we did, but it's going to be scary. Another issue I was having was a lead Geodude. Now, lead sturdy Geodude was a big issue for me because I don't have great rock resist on this team, and I didn't actually, have anything to really switch into it, and I couldn't really take any damage on anything to try and really chip it down. So that's gonna actually force me to bring a really funky Grookey set, but we're gonna jump into it right now. So first off, we have a heavy duty boots. Ponyta, we were like max Fizz Def and like a little bit of HP, just so we could always take a hit from the Scraggy and revenge it with Play Rough. I believe we were Flare Blitz, Wild Charge, Play Rough, Morning Sun, something like that. Covers his team very well, honestly. It actually hits him very hard. Minus the Numal, which is nice. We have I believe we're a Life Orb Helioptile. It might be a Life Orb Helioptile, something like that. Then we have a Life Orb Kabuto. I know for a fact that one's Life Orb because it does amazing versus my opponent's team. If we can just get Chip on the Pumpkaboo, it goes crazy this game. After Rapid Spin, we'll outspeed everything. We do still have Aqua Jet just in case Numal gets out of hand. Then we have Liquidation and Rock Blast. Again, covers my opponent's team phenomenally. If I can just get some chip on the Staryu and really wear down that Pumpkaboo, it honestly kind of just wins on the spot. We have a Scarf Woobat. Now Scarf Woobat is here literally just to stop a +1 Scraggy from getting super out of hand. As long as we can limit to 1 Dragon Dance, we can always come in and potentially revenge it with a Air Slash, as long as we get some kind of chip on it prior, unless it's like a Cove Berry set, and if that's the case, then good stuff. We also have a Sticky Hole Grimer with like Haze Explosion, Poison Jab, like Shadow Sneak, I believe is the moveset. It's going to be my initial pivot into Scraggy. We can always take +1s and Headbutt after rocks, and depending on the spread, if he is Berry Juice, I will knock him out with an Explosion, and if he is Eevio, we'll get him in range of literally everything else on our team. So that's going to be my initial pivot into that thing. And then we have a really weird Overgrow Grookey. Now, I know we can bring, Grassy Surge Grookey, obviously, as we've brought it up before in previous weeks. However, I really don't like the sturdy Geodude lead. So this is going to be my designated lead in the sense that I can go in, I can fake out the Geodude and then immediately knock it out with Wood Hammer or threaten it out with a knockoff or something like that. We have fake out, knock off, Wood Hammer, U-turn. Very standard, moveset itself. However, it's literally here to potentially stop a Geodude from, being really annoying on lead. And it can actually put me in a pretty solid position if we do get that lead right. So, like I said, I am going to lead off my Grookey. My opponent leads off with the Pumpkaboo. They're going to frisk my Berry Juice, which is a bit annoying as they go for a foul play, pop my Juice, and let me get back up to full. Now, I'm going to stay in this turn despite risking the burn or something like that, just because... Oh, no, I wasn't U-turn. I was Acrobatics. Just kidding. That's another cool part of the set. It's Acrobatics for when I pop my Juice, I can hit this harder and I can hit the Scraggy harder. However, I'm going to go for a knockoff here because I know for a fact I can live anyone hit, and I want this thing's item gone because, again, like I said, Kabuto goes crazy. I was really expecting Colbur Pumpkaboo just because it goes crazy versus him, and it's their best pivot into it. However, we're going to go for knockoff to 72% and knock off this thing's Choice Scarf, which is amazing. We're going to be able to finish it off with another knockoff right there, which is great. And now the new one's going to come out. I don't have great switches to this thing, especially because I'm, my fire resist is, beat to ground and stuff like that. So I'm going to just go for a Wood Hammer, gauge some damage on this thing, find out if it's Scarf or not, and be in a pretty solid spot. Because if it is Scarf, I can go into Kabuto pretty much immediately after and threaten it out and pretty much force a KO on something, which is obviously super clutch. And if not, I get some valuable information on this thing. So we're going to do a ton with that Wood Hammer. And we're going to see that this thing is juice. It then elects to get up their rocks, which is completely fine, as I'm going to Wood Hammer the turn after, get a bunch of damage off, and the Flamethrower is going to pick off Grookey. Now, this looks like it kind of sucks because of the fact that, I obviously lost my Grookey, which is unfortunate. But regardless, I was able to kind of trade 1.5 for 1, and this next turn being the Pumpkaboo on, I can just go right into my Kabuto, and because I'm Life Orb and super offensive, and I know this thing is an Eevio, I guarantee knock it out with a Rapid Spin, so we get rid of the rocks immediately, and those are gone. So next out comes the Scraggy. Now right here was a really dumb play. I completely misclicked. My play was 100% to go into my, My play was 100% to go into my Woobat because I, it covered a knockoff play or anything like that, which, would have been annoying or something like that. But knockoff's going to come out. It's going to sticky hold. Oh, no, this is play after. Okay. Let's go back. I'm sorry. So, here we go. We're going to go into Grimer because it is our initial switch in. Knockoff's going to come out. We live the hit. And because of our sticky hold, we keep our Eevio and we live the Zen Headbutt after. I'm going to go for an Explosion. They show to be Eevio. This is fine. My play right here should be to go into Woobat, but I completely misclicked because they're sitting right next to each other and I was nervous in the game. And I went into Kabuto and I was like, it's fine. I can just Aqua Jet pick it off. I looked at the calc. I don't usually knock it out with Aqua Jet. I need a really high roll. So I'm going to have to make a super risky play and go into Woobat. Take the Drain Punch, thankfully, because it's 4 times resisted, and then force this thing out with a Scarf Air Slash. So we're going to be able to get a bunch of damage off on the Staryu, which is nice. We're going to force that thing out. I'm going to go into my Helio on the Staryu, be able to kind of get a free U-turn off on the Geodude, and go right back into Kabuto. Now, this is another bad play on my end. This is a really bad play. Looking at the calcs, this thing wasn't Eevio, and Aqua Jet 100% knocked it out. However, I wanted to cover a switch and get a lot of damage off on something coming in, like a Staryu, and at least force it into a potential recover turn. So I clicked Liquidation. I didn't even think of the fact that my team doesn't really switch to Geodude very well, and Scarf was 100% a biological. This is a really cool bring on my opponent's break. They're actually Galvanize Scarf Double Edge, which blows my Kabuto back, and this puts me in a bad spot. It's a very, very, very good bring on my opponent's part. Unfortunately, we are going to drop to that, and we lose probably our best win con in this game, and it makes me much weaker to the Tailo because I don't have anything that outspeeds it. I can risk a tie with Pony, but we do die to a hit because we're not Eevio if it is Flame Orb. So we're going to have to be really, really careful around that thing. That was going to be my main way of really, really, really winning this game. It was going to be my Kabuto if I can get Chip on that Staryu, and I still have a great check to it in my Helio right here. So very solid bring on my opponent's part. That was a super, super cool tech there added on. So they're going to go out into their Scraggy and essentially just sack it off. I know I'm faster, so I can just double surf just in case I wanted to catch the Geodude or something like that coming back in. Ice Beam's going to come out. They went out into the Staryu just to kind of probably get Chip for the Geodude or the Tailo in order to, be able to pick me off. However, we got Parabolic Charge teched onto here. Shouts out to Dark. It's probably his favorite move, I think, because of the fact that he makes me run on Helio every week. But we're going to be able to get back to pretty much full health. Only 4% off of what we were before. They're going to go back out into the Geodude. This is fine. I can't switch out, obviously. I'm weak to rock. They get a crit with a Stone Edge. However, we do live that, which is nice. Rock Blast would have been a little bit scarier because 5 hits and something like that might have been able to take us out and do it. But we're going to be able to live the hit, go for Surf, knock it out. However, we are in a very, very tough spot versus this Tailo. We're obviously going to go down to this hit right here. Quick Attack's going to take out our Helio. They're going to pop the Flame Orb. This is bad because, like I said, Pony 100% dies. So there's 2 ways I win this game. One, I go into Pony and I win the speed tie, and we're good. If that's the case, I obviously knock this thing out 100% with the Wild Charge, and I'm in a great I'm in a great spot because I win. Or if I don't win the speed tie, I need to get a flinch with my Woobat. So we're gonna go into Pony. We're gonna lose the speed tie, and we're gonna drop. There was no way that wasn't a roll. We just died to that 100% of the time, even with max defense, just because obviously Tail was really strong and we weren't Eevio. Now my play is to go into Woobat and Air Slash. However, my opponent has a better play than going for the Facade and knocking us out. What they can do, based on my spread, obviously they don't really know. They know I'm Scarf. They don't know how much defense I have or anything like that, though. If they just click Quick Attack twice, they do 2-hit KO me from this range. Guaranteed with, no, not guaranteed. I think it was like a really high roll in their favor with the Guts boosted Quick Attack. However, I just kind of have to go for them going for the Facade and hopefully nab a flinch on them. As they do elect to not go for the Quick Attack, so they go for the Facade, basically making it to where I can potentially win this game. Otherwise, I really didn't have a great shot at doing it. So we're going to click Air Slash. We're going to get the flinch. And then we're going to be able to hit the second Air Slash, knock this thing out, and have a win in a game we probably shouldn't have won. Very good game to my opponent. They brought a very cool team that 100% caught me off guard. I thought the Scarf Geodude was like an amazing bring. I thought that was super, super clean. The Scarf Pumpkaboo was a bit interesting, but the rest of the team was, a lot of what I expected, but very, very solid nonetheless. I do feel bad about the flinch, but like I said, I think my opponent had a better play to increase their odds of winning that game, just because, Yeah, I because we had a 30% chance to flinch, and they had to get a really like, I think they had to get like 2 min rolls to not knock me out with 2 quick attacks, which obviously would have sucked for them. But regardless, very good game to my opponent. I do feel bad about the flinch, but we'll take any win we can get. We actually ended up winning this series. I forget the series score itself. It might have been 5-2, 4-3, something like that. But we were able to nab our first series win, which is awesome. It keeps us in the playoff hunt. And yeah, let's jump into the next week, and hopefully we can pick up another one. All right, guys, so we're jumping all the way up to week 6. Unfortunately, I did have to sit out week 5 just because of the fact that it was during my finals week, and I just needed a little bit of a break. So I took the week off. I still helped in mocks and stuff like that, but just wasn't my week in order to play. And unfortunately, we ended up losing the week in game 7 again, or it was something close to that. It might not have been game 7, but we played well. Unfortunately, lost. So at this point in my head, I'm thinking, oh man, we're out of playoffs, as most people were. So we kind of just slotted people in different spots where they could, get some different experience and, have some fun in different slots. So I personally slotted in standard because I've been playing Little Cup. I've played all of my Clash Season 1 and Season 2 games in LC, so I wanted to give Standard a shot, and I figured this would be a fun week to do so, because we were playing another team that was eliminated from playoff contention, which is going to be Boom, and I got matched up against Boot, and I won't lie to you when I say this matchup was severely in my favor. I really did love this matchup, so let's go over it really quick. So, my opponent's team: Mega Mawile, Gliscor, Cinderace, Reuniclus, Toxapex, and Tangela. Our team consists of, obviously you can see on our screen, Landorus, Therian, Mega Mawile, Kyurem, Tapu Fini, Cinderace, and the Alola Persian. Now, if you just look on matchup and you look at Mega Mawile, like my Mega Mawile, it goes insane. I don't switch into Mega Mawile very well, but nobody really does. But I don't think I just get auto-swept by it on matchup. My opponent just kind of loses to +2 Mawile. It's insane how well it does in this in particular matchup. So we'll go over the team really quick. Landorus, we have a really defensive Landorus to kind of pivot into the Mawile. Decent amount of attack investment though, but we're rocking out with the Stealth Rock, U-Turn, Knockoff, and Earthquake. Knockoff is there to catch things like a Reuniclus Assault Vest, which is something I expect from my Kyurem that I played in a lot of mocks. It also catches a potential Gliscor switching in, taking its Toxic Orb from it, which would be like best case scenario because it's probably the second biggest threat to my team. And it's just here to get up rocks, be an annoying pivot, and it's pretty solid endgame offensively if we can just get rid of the Tangela and the Gliscor. It's really, really, really solid. And obviously the knockoff spam is really nice versus this team just because nothing wants to lose their item unless your name's Mega Mawile, and Mega Mawile obviously doesn't want to take an Earthquake at all. So that's nice. Next up, we have a Swords Dance Mega Mawile. We're rocking out with Iron Head, Psychic Fangs, and Sucker Punch. Swords Dance goes crazy this matchup. We can take one hit from literally anything on the opponent's team minus a Cinderace, and if we can get an SC for free on something like a Toxapex or like a Reuniclus or even a Tangela, we go crazy. And the Misty Terrain support really does help with this because we don't have to worry about being burned by Toxapex. We don't have to worry about being sleep powdered by the Tangela or something like that. We'll be in a really solid spot to get up a pretty free SD and really clean through my opponent, which is kind of the main end goal in this matchup in particular. After that, we have a Roost 3 attacks Kyurem with the Life Orb. I believe we are Draco Meteor, Freeze Dry, Roost, and Draco Meteor, Freeze Dry, Roost, and Earth Power for the Mawile. Also goes crazy in this game if they're not like a Spadef or like an AV Reuniclus. I kind of just click a button and something dies every single time. Freeze Dry and Earth Power always kills Mawile. Freeze Dry obviously kills the Gliscor. Earth Power Draco kills the Cinderace. Freeze Dry into Draco kills Reuniclus. Freeze Dry and Freeze Dry, or just Freeze Dry into Draco kills the Toxapex, and obviously Freeze Dry is going to blow back the Tangela. So another crazy offensive threat in this matchup. After that, we have a Moonblast, Taunt, Nature's Madness, Defog, Fini. The biggest threat to my team in particular that I look at on matchup is going to be a Reuniclus that's Double Dance with T-Spikes up. I don't have a Grounded Poison on this team, and Reuniclus can be very scary if they can get a poison off on my Persian. So I want to make sure that T-Spikes aren't up in this game. Taunt plus Defog is pretty much going to always ensure that I keep those off as long as I play correctly. And yeah, that's obviously super solid. We also have a Powerball, U-Turn, Super Fang, Taunt, Cinderace with the heavy duty boots. Just a good pivot this game. Good way to revenge on Mawile if it's not boosted up. A bunch of SDs and things like that. A good way to pivot into the Tangela. Just off the decent Powerballs and last ditch taunts and things we really need to. And then we have a Nasty Plot, Dark Pulse, Thunderbolt, Taunt, Alola Persian, which actually goes crazy in this game. It actually 2-hit KOs Mega Mawile at +2, so if we can get some chip on that, we can honestly just win with Persian because nothing on his team OHKOs it besides the Mawile, like at all.
So it goes really, really crazy in this matchup. But yeah, with that being said, let's jump right into it. My designated lead in this matchup is always going to be Lando, just because anything that leads, if it's Mawile, I can just Earthquake it. If it's a Gliscor or anything else, I can just kind of knock for free. It covers legitimately everything. I really want to knock off this Gliscor's Toxic Orb. I don't think it'll necessarily be let me do that. I would expect potentially a Protect or some kind of pivot out just to try and catch me. Though, to be fair, they don't really have a knockoff switch in on this team because it's Mega Mawile, and obviously they doesn't want to switch into a Lando, which is obviously pretty scary for them. So I'm going to lead off with my Landers as they lead off with the Gliscor. I'm going to immediately just knock off. Again, if I can get rid of this Toxic Orb, I'm going to be in a great spot. I am surprised they went for the EQ. They must have been expecting me to pivot out maybe into Mawile or Kyurem or something like that, trying to scout for an Ice Fang. But with how defensive I am, that absolutely bounced off my Landers at -1 on this thing, so that's obviously amazing for us. We're going to knock it off, and it's going to go for an Ice Fang, like I said, 30%. And with our lefties, after we get back these Stealth Rocks, we're going to be in a great spot. So Swords Dance is going to come out. They're going to get up to +1 as I U-turn out into my Kyurem and pretty much immediately threaten this thing out because they don't have a great switch in. They're going to go into the Reunaclus, show to be regen, and definitely AV, like max per def AV, which is something I saw in a lot of mocks, so I wasn't too surprised when I saw there. But that does put me in a really, really solid spot versus my opponent, just because of the fact that I don't really have to worry about it being like a double dance set and then, you know, Toxic's getting up the T-Specs. However, it does make my Kyurem a little bit worse, so we'll have to be careful around that. I'm going to get into my Landers right here as the Cinderace comes out, which is fine. They're going to U-turn as I go. They go out into their Gliscor. I believe I knocked off again, just potentially try and catch a Tangle or something like that. Regardless, this thing's going to be forced into a Roost turn anyway, so I can just U-turn out immediately and be in a pretty solid spot from here. So we're going to get into our Feeny, obviously threaten this thing with like a Surf or an Ice Beam, despite not really having it, as they're going to go into their Tox Specs, and I'm going to call that pull the double out into Mawile and be in a phenomenal position, because this gives me a free SD and this gives me at least 1 or 2 kills, guaranteed, because I know the Gliscor can't knock me out. It's not very attack invested based on the damage it did to my Landers, and we're going to be in an amazing spot with Mawile. So what we're going to do is Toxpex is going to come out. It's going to switch out into their own Mawile. They're going to intimidate me, which is fine because we do get up to +1 with our Mawile. And I know I can take any one hit from this thing, even if it goes for an attack. As they go for the Swords Dance, I'm potentially expecting them to maybe pivot out into Landers to try and, you know, take the Iron Head or Play Rough and intimidate this thing down. However, I knew I could take a neutral hit from this thing, and I knew I could just blow it back with an Iron Head. So we're going to do that, knock out Mawile, probably the biggest offensive threat to my team. Now, out comes the Tangela. In my head, I'm thinking, word, I can just SD again and, like, win the game automatically. However, they have a really cool tech. They go for the Warrior Seed, which is cool because it's going to take away my huge power, make it to where I'm not doing much damage at all as I go for a second Swords Dance. This is going to force me out because I don't want to take unnecessary chip on my Mawile, and I know that the terrain is gone, so I can potentially be put to sleep or something like that. So I am going to pivot out into Cinderace. I feel like it's my least useful member in that sense. They go for the Leech Seed, which is fine. And then they're going to switch out into the Pex, as I believe I just go for a U-turn, which is going to give me a free Persian. Now, Persian, again, puts me in a phenomenal spot because my opponent just doesn't switch into it without Mawile now. We can get up a Nasty Plot for free and just start throwing off some big hits and punch a giant hole in my opponent's team. So they're going to pivot out into the Gliscor, which is completely fine. I get up a big Nasty Plot, and at +2, Dark Pulse is going to blow this thing back. There's no way it lived that hit from there, and we're going to be in a solid spot. Cinderace is going to come out, revealed to be Boots. I knew I could take a high jump kick pretty easy, especially because we knew it was Boots. So I just select to stay in and go for a Dark Pulse. There isn't a Dark Pulse switch in on my opponent's team, as they do go for said U-turn, go into the Toxapex, which is fine because after Rocks, this is going to do a ton, 47. And after Lefties, this is a roll, so I am just going to go for a Thunderbolt because I figured, why not? If they want to sack this, they'll sack it. As I go into the Tangle, but it's not like I can take a T-Bolt into a Dark Pulse, which is fine, as I'm just slowly gaining back HP onto my Persian, which is nice. So out comes the Cinderace. They're going to Pyro Ball as I just go for one more Dark Pulse. Don't knock it out, unfortunately, but it's all good. I'm going to save this thing just because I can. I don't think they're going to go for a Gunk Shot on that turn in particular, but they do go for a U-turn. Good play on their end. Go out into the Tox Specs, which is, again, fine for that. Fine for me because I can just taunt this thing, prevent the T-Specs from going up. Poison Jab and Gunk Shot isn't doing the most to me at all, really, as I am going to go for a taunt. Get out into my Mega Mawile as they go for a Gunk Shot, and then I'm just going to get up a free SD and be in a solid spot as they do go on to the Cinderace, which is a good play, trying to get in before I could attack. I go for a Sucker Punch as they go for a Court Change. This is fine, though. I just have to catch them on one turn. Even if I don't, I'm still in a good position to win this game, as I do go for a Sucker Punch on the third one.
knock out the Cinderace, then my opponent's going to forfeit because obviously the Reunicluses and the Toxapex are going to get blown back by a +2 Mega Ball out. So we're able to take home our week, what was it, 6 game, or week 5, something like that. Or was it 6? Yeah, it was 6 because we played week 4, took week 5 off, and played week 6, which is awesome. We actually ended up winning 6-1 in the week, and because we ended up doing so well, we found out afterwards that there was actually a pretty solid shot that we could win playoffs if we did well enough in our next week, and we had a couple things go our way after that. So there still is a playoff hope, despite us thinking we were 100% knocked out, which is awesome. And I'll be right back with our final week of the regular season of Clash. Alright guys, here we are with the final week of Clash. We were the first game of the week. We played against Ches. I believe he's one of their captains as well. So we have another captain that we're playing against. Very solid Little Cup player. We're back on our home turf, hopefully finishing off the Clash season undefeated. This win would be huge for our team, you know, obviously giving them a lot of momentum moving forward. But they have a terrifying team, and they brought a really cool squad that you'll see in the actual game itself. So you can see their team consists of the Timber, Drillbur, Rattata, Alola Meowth, Marini, and Turtwig, while our team is Scorbunny, Wingull, Snivy, Spoink, Stuffle, and the Stunky. So right off the bat, biggest threat to my team, Timber is a huge threat. We don't switch into Timber very well as, you know, honestly, just their offense in general. We don't deal with it super well. Drillbur is very annoying if Snivy takes like any chip at all, because it obviously can potentially hit us with an X-Scissor or something like that. Rattata is something, I won't lie, I totally under prep for. I got into the match and I said, oh man, this thing's actually really scary for me to pivot into if I'm not positioned properly. So we're going to have to be careful about that. Alola Meowth, again, big threat. It's going to be the main switch into my Spoink, which I'm hoping to exploit. Marini is very annoying for our team to break. However, it is very pressured in this game, so we can hopefully lure that thing off, get off a big knockoff, or get off some kind of big hit and put it into a you know, disadvantageous situation. Then Turtwig, just kind of Turtwig. It's a solid rocker in this game potentially, and yeah, that's going to be the squad that my opponent has. We have a Silk Scarf Scorbunny for our first member. I believe we are Blaze Kick, High Jump Kick. No. I think it's Blaze Kick, U-Turn, Quick Attack, Double Edge. Double Edge with the Silk Scarf and the Libero, we do 2-hit KO Marini guaranteed, which is obviously super nice. I think it's guaranteed after rocks, which is obviously super clutch. We have a Life Orb Wingull with dual Flying Stabs and Air Slash Hurricane. Then we have Roost and Scald as our last move. Does phenomenally in this matchup. They don't have switch into Wingull, so if we can properly position it, it goes crazy in this matchup. We have a Colberberry Spoink with Shadow Ball, Psychic, T-Wave, and Taunt. This thing is here to pivot into the Timber and potentially stop that thing from really just kind of claiming a kill every time it comes in. We also have the option of, you know, being able to live a hit from the Alpha and T-Wave that thing, because that can obviously help our Scorbunny and our Wingull being able to revenge it. We have a Choice Scarf Stuffle. My opponent doesn't have a normal resist, and we have, you know, just free Double Edge to throw off for Double Edge, Facade, Earthquake, and Brick Break, I believe is the last move, which is obviously great in this matchup. And then we have a Nasty Plot Stunky with Dual Stabs and Defog. So yeah, with that being said, let's jump right in. I figured Snivy was my best lead. It led well versus pretty much anything, and I can always throw off a big knockoff from the Marini, which is what I'm going to elect to do. I'll 100% trade Sludge Bomb damage because I know I won't ever die, just to get a knockoff on this thing because it makes it much less threatening versus my team. Sludge Bomb's going to come off, do 60%, which is a bit annoying, but not the biggest deal in the world, as I pivot out into Stunky because I know I can take that pretty well and set up a big nasty plot and really threaten this thing. As the Hydro Pump comes out, does 43, so it does a lot to us. It's a very offensive Marini, I should say the very least, as I throw off a big +2 Dark Pulse on the Timber and do like 50%. So now, in my head, I'm thinking, awesome, this is great. Biggest threat to my team, I'm going to be able to eliminate it right here. I didn't think in my head, you know, calc this damage. He's not Eviolite, because obviously a +2 Dark Pulse would not do that much to a Timber if it was Evio. So that would obviously be, you know, some pretty telling information. But regardless, I'm going to stay in and go for the Sludge Bomb as they show to be Scarf, which is huge. Very cool bring. Again, I love Little Cup just because of the cool weird Scarfers you can bring to matchups. And that's really unfortunate, because being able to force a KO on this would have put me in much better position at this point. So I'm going to go out into my Spoink. I'm going to go for a T-Wave, catch the Turtwig coming in, which is nice, and I can just go for a Taunt, stopping this thing from potentially setting up rocks or maybe throwing off a status move or something like that. As they do get off the Taunt and they go for the Light Screen. So that tells me probably dual screens. You know, I'd be very surprised if it was just Light Screen, but again, that's completely fine, as I'm going to pivot out into my, what do you call it, Snivy, as they double into the Rattata. They're going to be able to knock me out with the U-turn. obviously super unfortunate, but not the biggest deal in the world. I'm going to be able to get out into my Spoink on the Timber that came in afterwards. They're going to go for a knockoff. I'm going to be able to clean, eat that up. I'm going to go for a T-Wave, paralyze this thing. Even if it's Guts, we'll be able to outspeed it the next turn, and Psychic Gate. So awesome. Timber gone, which is amazing for us. They're going to go into Meowth. Unfortunately, I don't have a switch into this thing anymore. I stayed in the T-Wave in case they were nasty plot, but that's completely fine. Going to go into my Scarf Stuffle. They'll have a big double edge, claim me a KO. Obviously a really good position for me at this point. So they're going to go out into their Churchwig the turn after. I'm going to switch out into Wingull, expecting them to go for a Reflect, but they do go for a Light Screen, so good play on their end. And my play here is just throw off a Hurricane and try and put some hurt onto something. However, I do get lucky and get a crit. Now, this crit was definitely pretty big because it stopped them from potentially getting up a Reflect. They never died to that Hurricane otherwise. Churchwig's really fat, and obviously the Light Screen was up. And this obviously puts me in a good position with my 2 physical attackers in the back, potentially being able to clean up this game. So I do apologize for that crit. That definitely sucked. As they're going to go out into the Rattata, show to be Scarf. They're going to Scarf double edge me. Thinking the same as me when they saw I don't really have a normal resist like they don't. And this puts me in a tough position. So you're going to see my play that I made right here as I obviously go into it. However, I'm going to, after spending a lot of time calcing and doing things like that, I went in and I looked, and Quick Attack had, the amount that Quick Attack did, and then the amount of double edge recoil they would take would always knock out Rattata, which is obviously super nice, and if they switched to anything else, they took a big chunk. So I figured that Scorbunny was my best play because I could kind of trade Scorbunny for Rattata 1v1, and if they missed, then they missed, and that's awesome. But because of the hustle. But regardless, I figured Quick Attack was my best play because it traded this 1v1, and then depending on spreads and things like that, I could potentially 1v1 the Marini and the Drillbur with my Scarf Stuffle, because I did knock out the Drillbur from full, and I could potentially knock out the Marini. So I'm going to go for the Quick Attack, obviously change to a normal type, and because of our Silk Draft, we do a ton. Double is going to come out, and then the recoil is going to take it out. Now, my play is to go into Stuffle. I calced EQ on the Drillbur. It did not do enough, like, ever, unfortunately, and they could pretty much always 2-hit KO me, which is also very unfortunate. So I'm going to go for a double edge, completely knock that thing out, bring me down to 40%, which is definitely super unfortunate because now I'm not going to be able to take the Marini hits as well. But it's completely fine. Their Light Screen's going to wear off, doesn't matter. And obviously my play is to double edge here. If I crit, I win. If I don't, I probably lose. I'm going to go for a double edge, do 78. Unfortunately, not enough to knock it out. We never knocked it out from full. And then Hydro Pump's going to come out, clean knock me out, and we're going to lose. Hydro Pump, I heard, was a misclick or just kind of like an oversight, but that could have potentially won me the game as well, and I won't lie, I wouldn't have been too upset if we did win because of the Hydro Pump, but it's completely fine. They played very well. GG's to my opponent. Unfortunately, we're going to end the season with an L on our end, but the Scarf Rattata plus the, the Scarf Timber was very solid versus my team, so I can't hate there at all. And unfortunately, at the time of recording this, our series currently isn't over. We're actually tied 3-3. However, due to differential reasons and things like that, we actually cannot make playoffs because the team above us will always have better differential and we'll have the same record as them. So we're unfortunately going to miss out this season on playoffs. I really had so much fun playing the season of Clash and captaining. It was really stressful, but it was a lot of fun. I loved all my dudes on my team. They really grinded super hard. I don't think our record of potentially either 3-4 or 2-5 was really indicative of how well we played. We had so many series go to game 6 and 7. We spent a lot of time really grinding this season, and I appreciate each and every one of them. So huge shout outs to my guys that played on GHQ with me. Huge shout outs to Milan for captaining with me. I had a lot of fun. I don't know if I'll captain again, just because, again, how stressful it was, but I think it was an awesome opportunity to get to do so. Good luck to everybody going into playoffs. Again, thank you guys so much for watching. If you stuck through this whole video, shouts out to you. It's probably going to be pretty long despite me trying to speed through these games pretty fast and give a quick overview. But regardless, it was fun to make. It was a really fun season. And yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Again, if you're new here, be sure to drop a sub. If you enjoyed the vid, be sure to drop a like. And I'll see you in the next one. Later.